कृष्ण प्राति जा होते कृष्ण प्राति जा होते मुका पद्मावक्या चितत कोरिया क्या अरना कोरियो माने आशा श्री गुरु चाराने राती ऐसे उत्तमा गति जय प्रसार पूरे सर्व आशा जय प्रसार पूरे सर्व आशा चाकुराधिरोजे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चाकुराधिरोजे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अभिजा विनाश गाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अभिजा विनाश गाते विवेक है जहर चरित विवेक है जहर चरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अज भजनार बंधु गुरु करुणा सिंधु अज भजनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पर छाया हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पर छाया ए भेजा सरस्वती पुवाना ए भेजा सरस्वती पुवाना हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पर छाया हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पर छाया हे भेजा सरस्वती पुवाना हे भेजा सरस्वती पुवाना शिला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना जय प्रभुपादा 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 जय प्रभुपादा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद पदाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चारिषतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरी गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरी गौरा भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe. Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Gangamai Yamunamai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna devotees. Welcome to the Sunday Love Feast program at Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Temple. It's wonderful to see you all. So we have a few announcements before we continue with the class. We have 2 new books available at the book counter. So one is called Krishna's Wonderful Form, is by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami. It's called A Guide for the Perplexed. So if you don't have this book, please make your way there and get it after the program. And then, of course, His Holiness Kadamba Swami's book, Forever Present, which was introduced a few weeks ago. So that's also available for those of you who want. And then also, we had Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day on Thursday, a wonderful festival with the Fire-Yagya, Abhishek, class, Kirtan. And these pavitras were offered to Lord Nrsingadev. They're also available at the book table for a donation. So you can also get that at the book table. Today's Love Feast program, of course, is the feast is prepared by the Food for Life team serving here at the temple, the South Region Namahata. So please appreciate them. Rajan Prabhu, Ramananda Priya Prabhu and their teams. So, and of course the serving team will be Dayal Chaitanya Prabhu and his team serving the prasad. So express your appreciation to them. We're very fortunate today to have His Grace Swarup Damodar Prabhu speaking to us. Swarup Damodar Prabhu is very well known in the community in Durban and in South Africa. He's a very, very senior devotee. He's the co-temple president of Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Temple currently, but served in many capacities, leading the yatra over the years, over the decades actually. And yeah, very mature. Take advantage of his association, and we look forward to hearing from him. He's speaking on the devotion of Prahlad Maharaj today, continuing on the mood of Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. So we welcome him to the Vyasa-san. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Baradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Just as the topic for this morning was advertised, the devotion of Prahlad, we wanted to discuss why would we want to consider the devotion of a 5-year-old child. 5-year-old children are very cute and innocent and nice to look at and play with, and unless you're the parent, you don't have to take them home with you and do the other part that comes with having a 5-year-old child. So what's so special about this 5-year-old child, Prahlad Maharaj? Why do we want to discuss his devotion and his character and his glory and attributes? As was witnessed last week, Thursday, and many years before that, we find that this festival of Nrsimha Chaturdasi is easily one of the most anticipated and joyously celebrated events on our devotee calendar, isn't it? Practically everybody is known as a Nrsimha Bhakta for various reasons. They have the special attraction for Lord Nrsimhadev. And our Srimad Bhagavatam, as narrated by Shukadev Goswami, we have about 10 chapters dedicated to the narration about Lord Nrsimhadev. Right? About 10 or so chapters. And you find the story of Lord Nrsimhadev, it's discussed, analyzed in so many other scriptures. Like on Thursday afternoon when we are chanting some of those Gayatri mantras and Maha mantras of Lord Nrsimhadev, some of them are not just from the Puranas, but even from the Vedas and the Upanishads, the original scriptures, even from there. So it's so elaborately described all over the Vedic literature. But the Bhagavatam is very interesting, its presentation on the story of Lord Nrsimhadev. That even though 9 or 10 chapters are given to the whole pastime, 6 of the chapters are focused on Prahlad Maharaj. So who's the real hero of the story in the 7th canto? Who is it? It's Prahlad. Not even Lord Nrsimhadev, not by a long shot even. It's actually Prahlad. Just like the Mahabharat, who's the main hero in the Mahabharat? Arjuna. In the Ramayana, who's the most celebrated hero? Is it Lord Ram? Is it Lakshman? Is it Sita? Who is it? It's Hanumanji. So Bhagavat, this is the nature of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means Bhagavat, means that which is related to the Bhagavatas, the devotees of Krishna, the devotees of Lord Nrsimhadev. Actually, in fact, the Lord, he doesn't even see any value, much value, if any value, in his own opulences. His opulences, of course, he gets so much of joy and others get joy, but he doesn't see any value in his opulences. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasasa shriya. That's why he's known as Bhagavan, full of 6 opulences. But he doesn't value them if he doesn't have the devotees to share them with, to enjoy them with. Further, the Lord says that even though his form is the source of all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, and they bring so much of pleasure to all the devotees. In comparison to his devotees, the value of his devotees, he sees his own form as being worthless. This is the position of the exalted devotees of Krishna. So for these purposes, to better appreciate the devotees of Krishna, even in a fractional way, as seen by the Lord himself, we wanted to discuss the topics of Prahlad. And I wanted to read from the 10th chapter of the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, text 21. So if you want to read along, it's 7, 10, 21. And this is the reason. This verse gives us the reason why we should pay special attention to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So 7, 10, 21. Bhavanti Purusha Loke Madbhaktastam Manubrata Bhavan Me Kalo Bhaktanam Sarvesham Pratirupadrik. Translation. Those who follow your example. Now this is Lord Nrsingadev speaking, the Lord himself, and he's speaking to Prahlad. Those who follow your example will naturally become my pure devotees. You are the best example of my devotee, and others should follow in your footsteps. Let's read that again. Those who follow your example will naturally become my pure devotees. You are the best example of my devotee, and others should follow in your footsteps. It's good to know where Prahlad's footsteps are going, right? What's the nature of its footsteps, what it looks like, how deep they are, where they don't go. Because see what the Lord is saying. If we follow him, what will happen to us? We will become pure devotees. I imagine that everyone here today, your goal is to become a pure devotee. Anyone here not wanting to become a pure devotee of Krishna? Of course, it's dangerous, mind you. The thought of becoming a pure devotee could be a little anxiety-filled, because Krishna is always putting his pure devotees through a lot of tests. Even the path to pure devotional service can be riddled with, what does that saying? Riddled with thorns, right? Strewn with thorns. Just like Prabhupada had this one associate or person visiting him. I think it was the son of a disciple or something. Can't remember, in India. And he had a bad habit of smoking. This man. And and when Prabhupada would ask him, are you going to stop smoking? Oh, Swamiji, I need special mercy. I need to be able to stop smoking. And Prabhupada said, okay, you want special mercy? The Lord will give you special mercy. This is the first installment of the Lord's special mercy. Harishyatad dhanam shanai. That the Lord takes everything away from you. So do you want the Lord's special mercy to give up smoking? Man said, no, I'll try my best to figure it out on my own. So like this, we want to become a pure devotee. So following Prahlad's example, learning about his example and following it will be very important. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya quotes a verse from the Skanda Purana. Ritetu tatvikan devan naradhings tatayavacha praradad uttamako Vishnu bhakto jagatraye. There are many, many devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they have been enumerated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20 as follows. Swayambhur Naradha Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlada Janako Bhishmo Balir Vyasakir Vayam. So this is the list of the 12 Mahajans. Of the 12 authorized devotees, Lord Brahma, Narad, Lord Shiva, Kapila, Manu, and so on, Prahlad is understood to be the best example. Now look at the company he is listed with. Swayambhuva Manu, Narada Muni. Who is Narada Muni in relation to Prahlad? His Diksha Guru. Shambhu. Shambhu is who? Lord Shiva. The four Kumaras, Kapila Muni. Janak Maharaj, the father of Sita Devi. Bhishma Dev. Bali Maharaj. Bali is junior to Prahlad, happens to be his grandson. And Shukadev Goswami. Like that. But Prahlad is considered to be the best amongst them, the best example. And what is the reason? There are so many perspectives from which to view Prahlad's exalted stature, his vision as a pure devotee, his qualities as a pure devotee, his behavior, his disposition, his activities. Of course, we must also appreciate Prahlad wasn't just a 5-year-old child stuck in that era. He also grew up to be a king and quite a warrior even at the point of fighting with the Lord one day. Can you imagine? You heard of that story? Where Prahlad was engaged in a battle with the Supreme Lord once. If we have time, we'll tell that just now. But Prahlad's vision was always imbued with love. What's that? Lord Brahma says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. When he's seeing Krishna, he's seeing with his eyes embalmed with love and devotion. Whereas the materialist or the demoniac person, the ultimate presentation of a demon being his own father, Hiranyakashipu, whenever he was thinking about God or Krishna, he was seeing it from a point of view of lust, anger, and greed. Anger in the sense that this Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, killed my brother. Is it younger or older? Younger brother. Younger brother, Hiranyaksha. And therefore I have to find him and kill him. So full of anger. Also lusting. Why? Because the Supreme Lord is Bhagavan. Full of all the 6 opulences. And I want that for myself. So this is the nature of the demoniac person. He's looking out for God. He's seeing God with this view, with these eyes, tinged with lust, anger, and greed. Whereas the devotee, like Prahlad, is only seeing the Lord, asking where the Lord is, looking at the Lord with the mood of love and a desire to serve. And then that person who is distressed when he is asking where is Krishna, he wants his sufferings to be relieved. Or he wants to challenge God, confront him. Why am I suffering? Don't you know I'm a nice person? Why are you letting these things happen to me? Why are you doing this to me? And the materialist is thinking, the enjoyer is thinking, where is God? So that I can get him to fulfill all my needs and all my desires and make me enjoy more. But Prahlad wasn't like that. He was constantly looking for Krishna all the time, so that he could serve Krishna. Whereas in the other categories, they just want something from Krishna, from the Supreme Lord. Either to kill him and establish themselves as the Supreme, in the case of Hiranyaksha, going around all over the universe, right? Looking for someone to pick a fight on. You know if anybody like that? They go around everywhere They have this habit of just starting things, they call it. Starting things so that they can be agitated and express their strength and their prowess. This is pride. But Prahlad was so different. So different. So, just like Prahlad, when the great devotee's eyes are devotionally adorned with love, seeing through that filter of love, then wherever they look, what do they see? They see Krishna. Just like Prahlad, when Hiranyakashipu asked him, is he in this pillar? Prahlad looked, oh yeah, he's in the pillar. It wasn't like, let me think. Yes, this pillar is made of earth, water, all these ingredients. It's all coming from the separated energies. He didn't see it philosophically. Oh, yes, there's Krishna. I can see him. Prahlad was seeing Krishna so naturally, it's as if I'm seeing Krishna Kshetra in front of me. you know. That's how Prahlad was seeing Krishna everywhere. And there was no doubt in him, no doubt whatsoever in his consciousness. And wherever he's seeing something and he's connecting it with Krishna. Not only connecting it that this is an energy of Krishna, he's also thinking, how can I use this? How can I use this floor? How can I use this carpet? How can I use this car? How can I use this money? How can I use anything and everything in the service of Krishna, for Krishna's enjoyment? Whereas Hiranyakashipu, whenever he looked around, he saw everything as his energy, his belongings to be used in his service, for his sense gratification. So in one family, in just 2 generations, such stark differences. Very, very stark. In this case, the fruit fell very, very, very far from the tree. Like in another planet, the fruit fell. This is what happened. And even when the Lord wasn't physically present for Prahlad, at least to others' vision, Prahlad's power of remembering the Lord was so intense that it was the same as seeing Krishna. The very same as seeing Krishna. Sometimes we joke about somebody who may be a little bewildered. We tell them, you know what, I think you're seeing things. Is it? I think you're seeing things. And maybe other people around Prahlad were telling him the same. I think you're seeing things. You're not really there. But that person who thinks that Prahlad is seeing things, or thinks that the pure devotee is seeing things, whereas that pure devotee is in reality, absolute reality, the other person is in absolute illusion, absolute Maya. If there's such a, can you put those 2 words together, absolute and Maya? You can't really put those 2 words together. They're in deep Maya. So Prahlad was never seeing things because he was seeing the absolute reality. So now after that introduction, I just want to now immediately go and read some verses from the 4th chapter of the 7th canto, which wonderfully describe the various qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. So this is 7.4, verse 30 onwards. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons. Did you all know that? He had 4 sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities, because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. The qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described herewith. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmin, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He was 5 years old, but he had developed this determination, just like we have been reading in the daily morning Srimad Bhagavatam class here at Radha Radhanath Temple about Dhruva. 5-year-old child, his very name refers to someone who's very determined. Dhruva. So Prahlad was like that, very determined to understand the absolute truth. And we should have a desire to cultivate similar determination. Our surroundings are nothing compared to Prahlad's surroundings, isn't it? What excuse do we have in relation to someone like Prahlad in terms of favorable situation? We're always considering, right? It's not really favorable. I can't really extend myself. It's too difficult. No, be balanced, Prabhu. It's all about balance. Take it easy here and there. Yeah? Don't push yourself. I know the temple wants to celebrate Janmashtami coming up and they're asking for so much of service, but it's okay. Or whatever is happening, whatever is expected of you by your spiritual master, we'll always think, take it easy. The circumstances are not favorable. But Prahlad's circumstances, what could be more unfavorable than what he had? Actually, the greater the external unfavorable circumstances, actually it's even more favorable. Why? Because in the face of deep unfavorability, if that's a word, comes greater mercy. Just like we hear from Prabhupada's devotees in Prabhupada's time, they found amazing nectar in the most difficult of services, namely book distribution. You hear stories of the devotees in the 70s and 80s distributing in places like New York City during the December book marathon. I can't even imagine what that must have been like. Sub-zero temperatures, like snowing and sleet just flying everywhere, and they're distributing up until midnight. And I'm thinking, Prabhus, isn't this a bit extreme? Close it up now at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. No, they wouldn't, because they were up against so much of challenges, so much of adversity, but because it was such a great adversity, they felt so much more mercy. The same with Prahlad. Actually, all the adversity he was in, he never even considered it, because he was fully convinced that he was in the lap of the Supreme Lord, being protected by Krishna. Such was his determination. He had full control of his senses and mind. That is not a 5-year-old child, right? This is very different. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. So when someone has Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, when they are seeing with the self of love, they're not only seeing Krishna with love and devotion, they are also seeing every other living entity with love and devotion. And because they have this nature to serve Krishna, because they love Krishna, they have the desire to serve everyone else, because they love everyone else. Just like Srila Prabhupada, we hear that beautiful story. Once Srila Prabhupada had this wonderful exchange in Los Angeles, in Cheviot Hills, where he used to walk every morning. And one of the parents of one of Prabhupada's devotees was having this wonderful interaction with Srila Prabhupada. And at the end, it was very pleasant. Prabhupada dealt with them very nicely, and they left so encouraged. And in the car, Prabhupada's servant told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, everyone just loves you. Everyone loves you. And Prabhupada said, yes, because I love everyone. So this was Prabhupada's nature. He genuinely loved everyone. Not just, being advertised as someone who preaches about love, just love, feel love, experience love, love this, love that. It's all about love. But you really don't have it in the heart. His Holiness Radhanath Swami was describing, a couple of years ago, I was fortunately present, when he was describing an experience he had sharing a platform with another sort of new age spiritual type leader at some big event, thousands of people, some Indian spiritualists. And this man was asked to explain what is love. And this sadhu, he stood up straight, closed his eyes, looked very devotional. I mean, I can't do it, but... And then he said, what is love? I'll explain to you what love is. Love is when you've been away from your home for a very, very long time. And you come back, you open the door, and your little puppy comes running towards you and jumps onto you and starts licking your face with such affection. That is love. That's not love. That's not love of God, that is. Love of dog, as Prabhupada would say. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. Prahlad Maharaj's love for everyone wasn't just, so nice you are, a wonderful person. No, where he had to cut, he cut. That was a form of his love. Where he chastised or corrected even his schoolmates at the age of 5, they saw it as love. Today's world, everyone is so sensitive. that if you offer love in the form of correction, oh, they'll report you to some complaints commission or take you to court, even though it's coming from a perspective of love. Everyone's on edge. Everyone's on edge. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older God brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also very important teachings for us, even as devotees, how we interact with other persons. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. So unnatural pride that comes from something that is temporary based on one's birth, like your riches, your education, beauty, and so on, which will eventually be taken away. But if there's pride that is emanating from one's devotion to Krishna, just like Srila Prabhupada, sometimes you would hear him sort of boasting about his devotees, about the number of books, about the number of temples. He would be very eager to extol the expansion of the ISKCON movement. And someone could say, but isn't he being proud? Isn't that a sense of boasting? No, but because it's in relation to Krishna and Krishna's service, that was pleasing to Krishna. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike other Asuras, he was never envious of the Vaishnavas. Never envious. Sometimes, I could expose myself. There are times, sometimes you feel, this person, if only it was me. If only I could have had that. Only if I could experience that or get this facility or that. It's there sometimes in the, I don't know if it happens to you, or sometimes it may not, I don't know, but I'm saying it happens to me sometimes. Prahlad was never like that. He never had a tinge of it. He fully exemplified the Trinad Api Shuni Chena verse, which sometimes we try to put in our hearts by buying those expensive neck beads at Radhakund with the thing. That's very nice, as who asked us to do that? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, right? Wear that verse around your neck. He didn't mean it just literally, but he meant it, wear it around the heart. Let it permeate the heart. Let it envelop the heart, the mood. To always be respectful of others, never to be expecting any respect or honor in return, and to be humble and tolerant. Prahlad had that naturally. Not as a practice. Okay, today I'm coming to the temple on a Sunday. I've done my proud thing for the whole week. I'm going to spend it all for the whole week. When I come to the temple, just when I leave my shoes at the door, I leave my pride there and I'm going to walk in. I'm going to remind myself. It's not an external imposition. Of course, it does help, leaving the shoes at the door, offering obeisances. These things do help. But really where humility stems from, and pridelessness stems from, and tolerance stems from, is from a deep connection in one's relationship with Krishna. To understand how great Krishna is, naturally will make one feel humble. Bhakti Charaswami was once asked, how can we develop humility? He said, read and understand the greatness of Krishna. Because when you do that, you'll understand how small you are. And when you understand how small you are, where's the opportunity for being proud? Where's the opportunity of being intolerant? There is no space for that at all. He was not agitated when put into danger. This is a tough one. This is not an easy one. Naturally, we want to react when we're in danger. But he was not agitated. And he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless. And therefore, he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air. And being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. O king, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. In any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, just like we are here, O King Yudhisthira, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of a great devotee. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, Mahatma. From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. In other words, he was dull to any material attraction. It wasn't something that excited him. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. So from a perspective of a pure devotee who's so attached to Krishna, deriving such pleasure in seeing Krishna, hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, when they see persons who are just embroiled in sense gratification, they cannot understand it. It's just too weird for them. It's too strange for them. So Prahlad was like that. That's why he was so, in some ways when you read his exchanges with his father, how blunt he was with his father. Of course he was respectful. Oh, Asurya Varya, he would say. Oh, best of the Asuryas, And then he goes straight into smashing his father. He had no diplomacy or tact when just speaking very frankly about Krishna consciousness, because he was so pure at heart. Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. Actually, in the 9 limbs of devotional service that Prahlad speaks about, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So for each of those practices, you have one person in Vedic history that best exemplifies it. Like Shravanam, who best exemplifies or practiced Shravanam, the process of hearing? Parikshit Maharaj. Then if he exemplified Shravanam, who exemplified Kirtanam? Shukadev Goswami. So when it comes to Vishnu Smaranam, to remember Krishna, the person that's most celebrated in remembering Krishna is Prahlad Maharaj. He was always in thought. His thinking of Krishna was so intense, as I mentioned earlier. It was as if he was seeing Krishna. It wasn't just some mental picture that was there. So he was always seeing Krishna, always seeing him. Thus being always embraced by the Lord. So when you think of Krishna always, the Lord is embracing you. Thus being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking and talking, were being automatically performed. You sometimes, at least in some of my experiences, I have been fortunate to associate with some very exalted saintly persons, and this comes to mind. You wonder sometimes, do they know it's time for prasad? Do they know it's time to rest? Or it's time to do this? They're so completely aloof from all of these things. Their mind is somewhere else. One senior Vaishnava I was serving, he was meant to have lunch at a normal lunchtime, like we all do, 1 o'clock, 1:30. But he was so absorbed in his service, it went to 3. I had to go and remind him. He says, actually, no, he's too busy with whatever he was doing in service to Prabhupada. He said, I'll eat later. So 4 or 5 hours went. The devotees distributed that lunch to others. So they cooked again for him. I went to him, said, would you like to take prasad? I said, okay, maybe in half an hour. I came back in half an hour. He was still so engrossed in all his services. That prasad got distributed to others. Eventually at 11:30, he said, do do you think there's any leftover prasad I could honor? It's okay if there isn't any. Anyway, I got the devotees up, they cooked a small meal, and then he ate. 12 hours, almost 12 hours after, completely oblivious. So great Vaishnavas are like that, completely oblivious. So Prahlad exemplified this. He did not know. We cannot understand how it takes place also. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would call loudly in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy, and sometimes, being absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of Krishna. So you find this also in the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. The pastimes they would enact in Eka Chakragram, they would play. And sometimes he would be absorbed in the mood of Lakshman, or this personality and that personality. Same with Lord Chaitanya, right? He would do like that. Sometimes, feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hair standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. Because of his association with perfect unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. So just by seeing Prahlad's ecstasy, those persons were bestowed with transcendental bliss. Now, is that opportunity available to us? Because in Krishna consciousness, the potency of the Shastra, hearing is even more than seeing. So by hearing about Prahlad and his activities and his devotion, Prahlad will also bestow upon us transcendental bliss. This is the nature, this is the potency rather of the pure devotee. Just by thinking, like, I know this is sort of like a constant statement that His Holiness Parthasarathi Goswami will always say. Just to think about the devotees, reading the names in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would go and learn off by heart, right, all the list of different associates of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Because just by thinking about them, you are in association with them. You are extracting mercy from their lotus feet. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, these descriptions. Now I want to take our remaining time and read some section from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the first part, which is a very interesting account of Narada Muni traveling to different places, encountering different personalities, devotees. He was doing a very elaborate investigation, I would say, detective work, trying to figure out who is the recipient of the Lord's greatest mercy. Sometimes we do that, right? We have discussions amongst devotees and we talk about one devotee, this Kirtanya, or this Prabhu who dresses the deities, or this Mataji who cooked. Wow, they are the topmost devotee, we will say, and someone will give an account of another devotee and how that devotee also. It's very exciting to talk about the glories of the devotees. It's actually, when you get into it, sometimes you also lose track of time talking about one. And not just we're talking about the Bhagavatam devotees, just devotees around us. It's so relishable to talk about it. Whereas the materialists, or those persons afflicted with the jaundice of criticism, they take so much of pleasure in looking very carefully, doing a great investigation on the apparent foamy black spots about a devotee. They get so much of pleasure, right? You see that sometimes, right? And you see it where you know where's the best place to find it, which in other words you shouldn't go and test my theory, is on Facebook. If you want to find out how people get so much of pleasure in fault-finding about devotees, oh, go to Facebook and you'll see. Of course, there you'll also see a lot of glorification of devotees, but very cleverly disguised and hidden amongst all that glorification, you'll find great criticism of devotees. So one must be very, very careful about social media. Be very, very careful. So Narada Muni, he is going and doing this great investigation to find out who is the recipient of the Lord's greatest, topmost mercy, the choicest mercy. So he starts off in one place where he finds one Brahmana. I think this is in, where it is, Prayag, right? At Dashashwamedha Ghat, the Tirtha. And he sees this one very high-class Brahmin comes and he sets up an altar. He performs this puja of his deity with great devotion. Then he feeds the Brahmanas, washes their lotus feet, and he drinks the water, does all this. And Narada is so impressed and so in awe of this person. And he goes up to him and he declares him to be the recipient of the Lord's greatest mercy. And then this Brahmana says, "Oh, no, you are so mistaken. You have no idea how fallen I am and how bereft I am of the Lord's mercy." He says, "Actually, not me. Go and see this king in Dravida Desh in South India. He's opened so many temples. He's engaging so many people in the worship of the Lord. Gives so many reasons." So Narada said, "Okay, thank you very much." And he goes there. He meets that person. He glorifies him. That person says, no, not me. And these are the reasons. And he tells him, "Okay, now go to Indra, the king of heaven. He is the greatest person." So like this, Narada goes from Indra. Indra debunks his theory. He says, "No, not me. Go to my father Brahma." He goes to Brahma. Brahma says, "Not me, definitely. Do you know how many times I was chastised by Krishna? I'm definitely not." Who to go to? Lord Shiva. Then Lord Shiva has this whole discussion why he is not, definitely not. See the nature of these devotees? They've been glorified by one person to be great devotee, but they're so intelligent and so expert at dismantling the same reasons that was given for their glory, for their transcendental attributes. So Lord Shiva says, "Actually, I am nothing." And his wife was present, Parvati, Gauri was present. So Lord Shiva glorifies who? The Vaikuntha Vasis. And he says, gives so many amazing reasons, 6 or 7 qualities in particular, of why they are the recipients of the Lord's greatest mercy. And especially he glorifies who? Shri Lakshmi Devi, the supreme goddess of fortune. Now the reason why he is doing that, anyway, this is transcendental literature. The reason why he is doing that is because his wife is sitting next to him, and she, Parvati, and Lakshmi Devi are very close friends. So this pleases Parvati a lot. And as soon as Parvati is out of hearing distance, Lord Shiva says something, "But Narada, come here and sit down. I will whisper something into your ear, which is very confidential, but it is the greatest truth of all." And what does he say? He says, "Sit down, my dear Brahman, and I shall whisper into your ear a great secret. Please hear this with absolute confidence." So yes, the Vaikuntha Vasis are great devotees, but now Lord Shiva is privately going to tell Narada Muni something else. "There is a greater recipient of Krishna's mercy than your father," meaning Brahma, "than me, and other servants like Garuda, and even the goddess of fortune. His name is Prahlad. He is famous throughout the world as the dearmost devotee of Krishna. Surely you haven't forgotten the Lord's words about this. You must have read about them in the Puranas, and you must remember the following verse." This is the verse that I mentioned this earlier. "Without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss or my supreme opulences." And he says, "The Lord's divine personal form is the source of all demigods, including me, Shiva, and gives great pleasure to his devotees. But the Lord considers his own body worthless compared to the value of his devotees. Who is fit to praise the Lord's devotees? Moreover, among those countless devotees, Prahlad stands out as the example of perfection. The Lord himself has described him in this way. Prahlad's good fortune is inconceivable." when the Lord tore Hiranyakashipu apart, I, all the demigods, and the goddess Lakshmi witnessed with our own eyes the incomparable good fortune of Prahlad. You'll know that part, right? That in the narration, the Lord was so fearsome, so angry, beside himself with fury, that all the demigods, the host of them, even Brahma, they were too scared, even Lakshmi were too scared to go before Lord Nrsingadev. And Lord Brahma had to push Prahlad forward to appease the Lord's anger. Lord Vishnu several times tried to offer him boons, but Prahlad refused to ask to be liberated. Instead, he chose only pure devotion. I bow down before him. This is Lord Shiva speaking about bowing down before Prahlad. My dear sage, Bali, who we describe to be the grandson of Prahlad, Bali violated spiritual etiquette by disobeying the order of his spiritual master and failing to be true to his own words. How was he dishonest? He promised the Lord 3 steps of the land, but in 2 steps, Vamanadev covered everything. So he was dishonest. Still, as we know, the Lord agreed to become a guard at Bali's door. Was that simply the fruit of Bali's insignificant charity? The Lord also granted protection to the wicked Banasura. Was that the result of my offering the Lord's prayers? So you'll know the story in Krishna book. Banasura had 1,000 arms, and he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He used to play the drum. Can you imagine? You only can play with 2 hands. Can you imagine someone playing with 1,000 hands? He used to play for the pleasure of Lord Shiva when he would dance. So when he got a little too ahead of himself, this Banasura, Krishna decided to punish him and was ready to kill him. First cut off his arms, ready to kill him, but Lord Shiva had to intervene and say, my dear Lord, please, please have mercy. So he's asking Narada Muni, was the mercy or the protection given to this wicked Bana because of my prayers? And Lord Shiva then answers. He says, no, in both cases, in the case of Bali Maharaj, whom the Lord vowed to be a doorkeeper, and of giving protection to Banasura, in both cases the Lord acted out of affection for Prahlad, his most beloved devotee. But what more about this can I say in the presence of Gauri, Parvati, the close friend of the goddess Lakshmi? So because Prahlad was the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, and we know Bali Maharaj, he celebrated for what in those 9 processes of devotion? Atma Nivedanam, completely surrendering. He gave his head to Vamanadev. Yeah, put your 3rd step here. But here the acharyas are saying, why was the Lord induced? What was the main reason that the Lord was induced to show mercy to Bali Maharaj? Because he was related. It's good to have contacts. It's important. It works even in spiritual life. I know some people don't like it, but it works. Especially in spiritual understanding. Not in a mundane way to get to the front of the queue or to get Mahaprasad. Not like that. Not that context. I'm not talking about that. In this context. Because Bali Maharaj is the grandson of Prahlad, and Prahlad is so dear to Krishna, that's the main reason why the Lord showed so much of mercy to Bali Maharaj. And because Banasura was the great grandson of Prahlad, therefore, not because of Lord Shiva's prayers, that familial connection was the main reason why Krishna showed mercy to Banasura. Then further, so this is Lord Shiva's glorification. Now when someone like Lord Shiva, it's one thing for us to glorify Prahlad and give a class, but when someone like Lord Shiva, and just now we'll read about Narada Muni's glorification, then that is something. We can appreciate that testimony more when it comes from persons of that quality. So then Lord Shiva tells him, go quickly to Sutala. This is where Bali Maharaj lives, and that's also where Prahlad Maharaj is living. Go quickly to Sutala Loka. Offer Prahlad your countless blessings. Embrace him and tell him I embrace him again and again. Unfortunately, that best of saintly persons will not tolerate our bowing down to him or praising him. If you want to avoid getting into trouble, do not neglect this fact. So then, Narada Muni, after the sage Narada heard Lord Shiva's words, which impressed him as most amazing, he was eager to see Prahlad in person. He at once, therefore, travelled to Sri Sutala by the path of the heart, meaning he travelled by mind, and entered running into the city of the demons. Prahlad, the best of the Vaishnavas, was in a secluded place, absorbed in loving meditation on the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Seeing the Brahman, Narada, approaching from a distance, Prahlad quickly stood up and offered prostrate obeisances as Narada came close by. With some effort, Prahlad induced Narada to accept a seat and then began, like others before, to worship him in accordance with standard rules. But Narada, feeling great reverence for Prahlad, refused the worship. He shed tears of joy and tried to embrace Prahlad. Then he spoke as follows. Sri Narada said, "Now, after so long, I have finally seen you, the true recipient of Krishna's full mercy. Now my efforts have borne fruit. From your very childhood, you have been endowed with pure devotion for Krishna. Such spontaneous love has never been seen anywhere before. By virtue of that pure devotion, you overcame terrible obstacles, the thousands of outrages your father committed against you, and by your influence, all the demons became Vaishnavas. While immersed in meditation on Krishna, you seemed to forget your own existence. Like a madman, you danced and sang and called out loudly, your body trembling. In this way, you spread devotional service unto Lord Vishnu, delivering all the worlds from the cycle of material life and filling them with joy. When Lord Krishna appeared on the shore of the ocean, this means Lord Nrsingadev, he placed you on his lap and caressed you like a mother. There's that beautiful verse that describes Lord Nrsingadev as the mother, that mood of a mother to Prahlad. Thus he honored you, ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods offering prayers, and even ignoring the goddess Padma. Brahma, terrified, begged you to approach Sri Nrsinga, and when you fell at the Lord's divine lotus feet, the Lord stood up and raised you from the ground. He put his lotus hand upon your head and began to lick your entire body. When Lord Hari, with most attractive and clever enticements, tried to offer you the supreme abode, you showed no interest in liberation, which is prayed for by Brahma and everyone else. Rather, you asked only devotion to the Lord, birth after birth. So like this, Narada Muni goes on describing these amazing qualities and devotion of Prahlad Maharaj. And we should try to read it. Try to get your copy of Brihad Bhagavatamrita somewhere. It's not very easy to get, but try to get it and read these. Oh yes, here's the story. Once you went to the Naimisha forest to have darshan of Narayan, who is known as the Lord in yellow dress. While on the road, you satisfied the Lord in combat, and he told you, "Yes, I am always conquered by you." So once, when he was going to Naimisharanya, Prahlad Maharaj came across this sannyasi, person looking like a renunciant, dressed with like sannyasi clothes, saffron, very simple, but he was carrying weapons. So Prahlad Maharaj, being the king and ever protective of true religion, he thought this person was an impostor, dressed like a renunciate but acting like a kshatriya. So he challenged him to a fight, a duel, and he vowed that, "I will kill you, I will defeat you." I didn't say kill, I will defeat you. And they engaged in a massive battle for a very long time. And Prahlad couldn't get the better of his opponent at all. So after that day's fighting had finished, Prahlad ended up worshipping his deity before him, worshipping. And as he offered a garland to the deity, From the corner of his eye, he saw the same opponent standing there, wearing the very same garland he had just offered to the deity. So then he understood, this must be the Supreme Lord. And then he approached the Lord and offered praise, and the Lord revealed himself as Pitavasha, one who is wearing yellow garments. And then Prahlad worshipped him and then said, but my dear Lord, how can I get free from this sin? I made a vow to defeat this impostor, but I cannot. I cannot defeat you. And that's when Krishna said, I am always conquered by you. So you don't have to worry, I'm always conquered by you. So this is Prahlad, this is the nature of his devotion. Jita jita api asi taistri lokyam. That we, following Prahlad's footsteps, we can also conquer Krishna. Krishna will always be conquered by us. That person who is known as Ajita, who is unconquerable throughout the three worlds, api asi taistri lokyam, can become Jita, conquered by devotion. So this is the nature of Prahlad. Even a 5-year-old child can do it. Us with more mature intelligence, developed intelligence, if we try to follow in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, as the Lord declared earlier, we read, we too will be endowed with pure devotional service. So thank you very much. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki, Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki, Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we can all rise and we can observe Arati with Kirtan. Sisi Radha Radhanath ki.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Nitinamine Haribo. Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Stand on this side. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Jaya Radha Radha Giridhari Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणार विंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज की अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की नीलाचल जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माया जमुना माया की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की The Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, The Lordship Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, The Lordship Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Hari ki, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. So how many of you come for the first time today? Hands up. Well, we'd like to welcome Sandra, Mother Sandra, sitting there on the bench with her two grandchildren here, Iman and Aliyah. Please look after them. Raise your hands. Let's have a nice Haribol. Ugram Biram Mahavishnu Jalantam Savatomukam Nishimham Vishnam Bhadram Mithya Mithya Namamyaham Namaste Narasringhaya Praladhaladayine Hiranyakashipu vakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Shilatankanakalaye Ito nishringho parato nishrimha Yato yato yami tato nishrimha Mahi nishrimho hridaye nishrimha Mahi nishrimho hridaye nishrimha Mahi nishrimho hridaye nishrimha Nashringhamadim sharanam papade. Clap your hands. Nashringhamadim sharanam papade. नभकर कमलवरे नाका अद्भुत शृंगार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृंगा केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे नभकर कमलवरे नृसिंहदेव केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय केशवदीता जय नृसिंहदेव 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 जय नृसिंहदेव नृसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रभुपदा 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 जय प्रभुपदा निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल भक्ति विघ्न विनाश नृसिंहदेव भगवान की भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि 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 बोल। सारिरा विद्यजा